All right, today we're going to be talking about a zone breaking offense. Now, the key to breaking a zone is that we need to find and exploit the open space. And the way that the open space exists in a zone is different than it would in a man defense. And so we need to adjust our offense accordingly. So this is a standard looking zone defense by the red team. The thing that really defines a zone is the cup, and that is when you put multiple people on the handler. There are lots of different ways that a cup may exist, but the core defining feature is that there are several people on the mark. So then everyone else downfield just picks up different areas where they can shift around. They're not going to move too far when they're downfield, but their goal is to basically pick up the closest threat in their area. And so this offense comes with this defense comes with all kinds of advantages and disadvantages, and it's offense's job to navigate through it. So focusing just on the handler, with this cup in front of them, they have 5 different ways that they can make a throw. Okay, the easiest one is just to go 180 degrees away from the cup, right? No threat of the cup making a block here. It doesn't accomplish a heck of a lot. It'll reset the stall count, but we don't gain anything in positioning. So this is an important throw to be aware of because we never want to get ourselves stalled out or make an unnecessarily poor throw. But it's never going to be our first look. So our primary looks are going to be these other 4 options. So around the left side of the cup, around the right side of the cup, or through either one of the holes between the players in the cup. Because the other 2 guys have to be 10 feet away, they either have to make the cup very small, which would eliminate these pass-through lanes, but really open up the arounds, or if they want to try and cover more space, they will have holes between them. They'll be small if they're good, but the holes will exist. So this is how the blue team is going to set up their offense. And you will notice that this is a little bit different from an H-stack. So I have here a popper and a deep, whereas before we might have a left popper and a right popper. These guys will instead shift, so this is like a diamond pattern among the cutters, and then we have our standard 3 handlers in their slightly offset position. This popper is a very interesting and dynamic role because they are so close to the handler. In a way, they play like a 4th handler in that they don't make big cuts. They're not their movement is not similar to the way that a cutter would traditionally work. So this is a hybrid role, and there's a big push that we're making on the team to make everyone a capable thrower. And so the ultimate goal is that if everyone can become a competent popper, that means you're effective at doing your handler cuts and you're effective at doing your throws and your downfield cuts. The popper does a little bit of everything. And this popper is the core to breaking the zone. So as they're standing in this stagnant position, the popper is going to position himself basically in a perfectly straight line through either this hole or this hole up here. Maybe if this whole thing was starting in the middle, then the popper could position himself in that forward space. Since we're starting on the right side here, he'd be positioning himself in between the first 2 members of the cup. So now this is a perpetual standing threat. No cut has to be made for this throw to exist as a threat. That will force this cup to either close or it'll pull this middle defender up and out of position. If he gets pulled up, this opens up the middle space, and we'll get into that later. But understanding what the popper can do is really what makes the difference. So the handler here has 4 viable throws available to him, right? He can do a dump throw to the middle handler, right? He has a straight through shot to the popper. Okay, this is the single strongest throw if it is unguarded. If maybe this guy shifts and this guy does not shift, it'll open up this pocket a lot more. So either the right wing cutter or the popper can attack this spot. And then of course we can go around the right side of the cup and get to the right wing cutter. Now, In order to beat a zone, it takes more than one throw. I always say that the second throw is the core to beating the zone. So let's go step by step and explore all of the second throws. So first, if we're going to be doing a dump off to this middle handler, the middle handler then has three choices. First, he could bounce it right back up to the right handler. The right handler is going to want to pull out a little bit from his previous position in order to maximize the distance that the cup has to move. This little maneuver gets the cup moving, but it does not give us very good positional advantage. However, just by getting a little bit of movement, perhaps that could follow up with attacking this newly open space right here for either the popper or the right wing cutter. The one that we most commonly advocate for is just the full swing. So after the dump, you just want to immediately swing off to the left wing handler, so that way the cup needs to run across the entire field. But we also have this popper here, okay? And this popper can also be a great target. So perhaps we see that the cup reasonably expects you to swing all the way across, and they don't even try to defend the dump. They instead run all the way across to intercept here. The popper has this entire open middle space to do anything he wants. He's basically in an ISO position. And so they are a target straight up, right? Maybe the cup runs over, so the popper can slide a little bit to the right and catch it right behind the momentum of the cup. But doing anything towards the popper gains us yards relative to our starting position. So once the popper gets it right in the middle, very, very dynamic. And we'll see that here as we look at the next option. Okay, if the popper gets it, now this one is directly to the popper, but this logic will similarly apply if the popper received it coming from the back middle handler. Every single person on the team is potentially open, right? A simple little movement can catch everyone on the team. So if the cup is running up towards this popper, right, they're chasing, you can simply read the momentum of the cup and look around, see the position of everyone, and you have to make a decision very, very quickly. A really simple one is just to bounce right back to the same handler that threw it to you, right? So you throw it up, and then you bounce it right back to the same guy, and then you get underneath the momentum of the cup, and then we can continue forwards, right? Similarly, we could just throw it straight forwards. This back deep guy can just come straight down, okay? Or we could shoot it off to the right, to this right handler, or to this right cutter. Okay, so everything to the right side is available with these simple moves. Now, in this specific situation, it's going to be a lot harder to get it off to the left wing. It's this left defender. We would expect him to be tightly guarding this because there's no one else to guard. But if this right defender is guarding this cutter, then this handler is open, and you can just give him a nice floating leady pass because he should be completely unguarded. If all else fails and we aren't able to get any of these good momentum plays, we can simply do a straight dump back to the back handler, and we've gained a few yards, and we just reform our offense 5-10 yards down the field. Even if we don't get those continuations, you reset and you try again. Now we're in a better position laterally, and then we can just run the system all over again. But the point is that when this popper gets it, everything is potentially open. And so that's the real strength of having a guy always here. So now let's say that the popper were to get it, but it was through the other gap in the cup. So even though the same person has it, they're a lot less centrally positioned, and so therefore the way that they must move the disc afterwards is a little bit different. Now, instead of having really everything open in every direction, we need to get our throw back towards the center. but we still have plenty of great choices available to us. So if we were to go the most straightforward and up line, we could either hit the deep or we could hit this right wing. But either way, with this movement, they should be able to get away from their guy because they're going kind of like into this middle space is not really anyone's zone. And so oftentimes zone defenses break down when you're kind of like at that border between, this deep zone and this wing zone. Okay, so we could, put it right up into there. If we have even more space, we can shoot all the way across the field here. The deep guy is once again an inside threat, but this far side wing can also get himself involved. Okay, and lastly, if we're not seeing anything forwards, we still want to move the disc laterally, and it keeps us away from the cup and it gives us more choices. But the best throw, we could just do a lateral swing over here, and that opposite side wing comes up and takes it. And then if this were to happen, simply have this back middle handler rotate to the left, have this right handler rotate to the middle, and then this popper would stay as the right wing handler. And so you get to still maintain the position after all of that, and there's not unnecessary movement afterwards. And it's because of this type of rotation, I like to think of the popper as more of a handler than as a cutter, because he gets into these handler cycle rotations less so than, he's more of a handler in rotation than he is a cutter in rotation. Okay, but we could throw it through the same gap and then have it go to the wing instead. In this situation, while this could still be an option here, this defender is less likely to be pulled away from his center role, not chasing that middle cut. So therefore, he's probably more likely to be able to stop that swing across. And so we would either want to look to the deep or look to the popper. Either way, we're looking to just centralize the disc, bounce it off the sideline a little bit forwards here, or a little bit, even. We could go backwards if we have to. It really just depends on the body situation. But with this cup approaching, you just need to read the guys, okay? But even though this one looks less dynamic, it is still a great option. Sometimes more options can create more stress and it's harder to make a good decision. So being this wing guy would be good for someone if they want to have a more linear approach instead of having so much dynamism and such a huge decision tree. And lastly, if the throw were to go around the outside of the cup, the only viable target here would be this right wing cutter. And now we're really on the sideline. And so now we're in a particularly dangerous situation. We have to bounce off the sideline or else we're in a really rough place. So immediately after this throw is made, this handler needs to shift towards the sideline to give that immediate, it's like a give-go, but really it's like a forwards-backwards give-go as opposed to anything lateral. And so it could bounce right back so that way then it can swing over to the middle, lickety-split. But if the cup isn't there incredibly fast and we can do a forwards or even throw, that's still great as well, right? So once again, we have the popper sitting here. So now you have a lateral throw and you have a forwards throw to this deep at the same exact time. By having this popper sit here, it gives us way more choices and it gives us way more dynamic options. So this popper is a really, really simple change, but it completely opens up our game and it gives us way more opportunities to break away from the cup.